Hi everybody, my name's Jared McCarthy, Big Bull Outfitters, Elk County, Pennsylvania. I have a Sasquatch or Bigfoot story for you. If you've come up here to hunt with us during elk season, you probably heard me tell the story, so I figured I'd go ahead and just document it, put it on YouTube so everyone could hear it and listen to the tale I tell here at the lodge. My Bigfoot story happened back in 1982. I was 10 years old at the time. It was Pennsylvania, Westmoreland County, a small town called Shaner, Pennsylvania. I was doing some fishing along the Ock River. I was alone and my mother and father at the time were, I don't know, 300-400 yards upriver, and they were cutting firewood for the wood burning stove used to heat the house at the time. I was standing fishing along the Ock River, and behind me, maybe 10 feet or so, there was a large thicket. And if you're familiar with the area, there's a bunch of growth that grows there right along the river. I'm not even sure what they call the plant or vegetation that grows there, but it's, you know, 6, 7, 8 feet high, 6, 7 feet high. It's very thick, big, broad leaves. But I can remember fishing along the one curve of the river there, and you know, at 10 years old, you don't hear any Sasquatch stories or Bigfoot stories, and so I was fishing, and from what I can remember, and I remember this like it was yesterday, and so I'm fishing the current, and I got my tackle box behind me, fishing pole in the hand, and I smelt a smell that I had never smelled before. You know, at 10 years old, you know, I had lived in the woods. You know, I was a young kid, but I spent a lot of time in the woods, in the trees. You know, I was fortunate to have that type of upbringing, and I still continue with the upbringing. But back to the story. I was fishing, and I smelt this smell. It was similar to a skunk smell, but it wasn't a skunk smell. It was very very unique and musky, and it was something I haven't smelled before, and I haven't smelled it since. So as I caught this smell, you know, obviously I was trying to investigate and trying to figure out what that smell was. But at the same time I was doing, you know, my investigation or trying to pick up what the scent was, I had heard a noise in this thicket behind me. So I had turned around to see what the noise was, and as I turned around, I had caught this large figure, and I can remember it, you know, to this day. The head was sticking up over these 6, 7 foot tall, you know, foliage, and you know, within seconds of me spotting this big, huge brownish, I want to say brownish red. There was no black. It was brownish red. You know, as soon as I had caught a glimpse of this thing, and before I could even put together what this was, and actually, if I remember correctly, I kind of thought it was like a guy at the time that, you know, maybe had snuck up on me. But thinking back now, you know, it wasn't a guy. So I seen this, you know, this tall, hairy thing, reddish brown, you know, and within seconds of me, you know, making eye contact with this thing, it took off, man, and it took off through this brush, and it headed downstream towards a little town called Turner Valley. And as it took off that way, man, I dropped the rod and I headed upstream to Mom and Dad. Now they were cutting firewood up there, and I was yelling the whole time I was running, and you know, there was a dirt road along the river, so I was running up along there, man, and I can remember, you know, tripping and falling, and there actually got to a point where I was, you know, I was moving so much, and I was running so fast that I actually collapsed, you know, in the middle of this dirt road. And it was, you know, at 10 years old, trying to catch your breath and piece all this stuff together. So I finally made it up to Mom and Dad, you know, and they were cutting firewood and loading it in the truck. And Mom at the time, she was very concerned. She seen that there was something wrong. And Dad stopped the chainsaw, and Mom had come over and said, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? And Dad obviously, where's your fishing gear? What are you doing? And I remember telling him, hey, and I think at the time I said, there was this guy behind me, and he scared me, and so I took off this way, and it went that way, and I just started describing this thing that I had saw to him, and I'm not even sure at the time they knew what they were talking about. There was a big drain pipe that spills out near this site, right along the Yawk River. And when Dad, I guess, was doing his chainsaw or looking for the trees that he was cutting up, when I was telling him this story, I could remember, Mom and Dad doing a little sidebar, just a few feet away from me while I was trying to catch my breath. And they were talking, my dad was talking about the large footprints that he had seen, human footprints that he had seen near this drain pipe. And it wasn't until years later that I had pieced this together, and realized exactly what it was. And it's very similar to seeing a ghost or a UFO. You're a skeptic, until you have a personal experience, and that is my personal experience with Bigfoot. I do believe that I had seen one that day, and like I said, I'm 42 years old now, so 32 years later, this image and this memory is still tattooed in my brain like it happened hours ago or yesterday. And since then, I've it's something that I can't explain, so I continue to you know, be a Sasquatch believer, Bigfoot believer, and there are several sites in Pennsylvania, sightings in Pennsylvania, and actually a few months ago I was online on the internet, and I was on the BFRO website, and they have you can file your reports of sightings and stuff like that, and actually there are more than one sighting in that location, which it really it floored me to see that someone else had reported. Man, I'm talking in the same curve of the river, that there's other sightings right there along the Youghiogheny River. So that's my Bigfoot story. At 10 years old, so there wasn't any alcohol, or wasn't smoking anything. I was a young kid, and it really happened, and that's something I just wanted to share with you guys. And actually, back in 2009, I think it was, I was in the same area, and I was doing some turkey hunting near a little place that they call, oh gosh, what is General Braddock's Trail. And I was turkey hunting up on this ridge, and I turkey hunted in the area before, but this particular spring when I was cutting across this ridge, I found this structure. It was a very unique structure, and I actually sent it to the BFRO guys and asked them about it. Never heard back from them, but I'll post a picture of this structure I found. And basically what it was it was a tree that was bent over, okay? I'm talking a tree about this big. It was bent over and wedged in between another tree, and something had stripped the bark off of the surrounding trees and had piled this bark up in kind of like an A-frame looking structure. It was about 12 feet long, about 4 feet high, and it had an opening at one end. And man, I checked that thing out for quite some time, snapped some pictures of it with the smartphone at the time, because I'm sure that there's kids that still venture out into the woods and whatnot, but why someone would go back there and bend this tree over, which I was amazed by, and then strip the bark off of trees, 7 feet, 7 feet off the ground. You know, this bark was ripped off. So I'll go ahead and post a picture of that. But that's my Bigfoot, my Pennsylvania Bigfoot sighting, and you know, I enjoy listening to other people's sightings on YouTube and stuff like that. So you know, it drove me to go ahead and do this video and see if anyone else out there had any experiences in the same general area. I never reported it to the BFRO or anything like that, not because I'm afraid of any criticism or anything like that. It's just you know, it's something that I never did, and it's a memory that I hold and will continue to hold, and it's a story that I will continue to share with the people that come to the lodge and elk hunt and shed hunt with me, and so I hope you enjoy it, and maybe you have something you'd like to, you know, write on YouTube and enlighten me about maybe a possible sighting in the area. Don't be afraid. Jared McCarthy, Big Bull Outfitters. Thanks.